have a quorum, so roll call, please.
Anna here. Grillo here.
Kavich here,
Guzikowski here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
and approval of the minutes. If you could take a look at the September 25th minutes, please. Any omissions, corrections, errors, please let us know. When you are satisfied, motion, please.
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of September 25th, 2018 meeting.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Anna, aye. Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Significant common council actions. Carrie?
There were none.
Thought I'd get you involved here. Okay. Public hearing, 5A, public hearing on a sign appeal for the property at 8645 South Howell. And with us tonight is Pete.
Yes, I get to participate too. I'll read the public hearing notice into the record. City of Oak Creek notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. Public hearing for a sign appeal will be held Tuesday, October 9th, 2018 at 6 p.m. Oak Creek City Hall, Common Council Chambers, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 53154. The appellant is Kelvin Schrader Jewelers, tax key number 828-9001-000. Property is located at 8645 South Howell Avenue. Applicant is requesting a variance from section 17.0706J2, which states that the area of a wall sign within a planned sign program shall equal 1 square foot of signage per lineal frontage of tenant space with a maximum of 100 square feet. Signs shall not be internally illuminated box signs. If granted, the variance would allow the applicant to install one wall sign that is 60 square feet in area for one tenant that occupies both tenant space B and C, as identified in the master plan for the development located at 8645 South Howell Avenue. Zoning of the property is B4 Highway Commercial District. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present. Dated this 19th day of September 2018. Plan Commission, City of Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Signed Mayor Daniel J. Bukowitz, Chairman. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone who wishes to speak regarding this matter, please step up to the podium, state your name and address the Plan Commission with your comments or concerns. This public hearing is now open, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. As Pete said, we'll make 3 calls. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach a podium and name and address. So this will be the first call. Second call. Third and final call. Okay, we will now close the public hearing and move on to consideration of that sign appeal in item 6A. I will open it to the commission for questions, comments.
Yeah, I have
Go ahead, Fred.
a question. Is the tenant here? Okay. You'll have to step up to the podium.
Name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Kelvin Matthew Schrader, third generation owner of Kelvin Schrader Jewelers, and here to represent my family's business and our tenants in regards to the submitted sign request.
Are you going to be occupying both spaces, B and
Correct.
C?
Yes, we have a double unit.
So that's your plan.
Yep, so as you can see on the picture there, the bump out is the main area, which is quite prominent, so we need a sign to fit that, which is no larger than what was there originally before we decided to move in. And the one on the right-hand side is also our unit as well.
Okay, that's it. Chauncey, anything?
Yes, I have a question, I believe, for Pete.
Okay.
So, is this sign the same size as the one right next to it? Or is it much larger? Or is it the space around the sign that we're including?
Well, what makes this a little different than your typical sign plan is that when Mattress Firm and Papa John's was there, it was a 2-tenant building. When you have a 2-tenant building, you're not bound by the same rules you are with a 3 or more tenant building. So the signs at Papa John was bigger. Mattress Firm they could meet the no more than 20% of the wall facade with a cap of 100 square feet. So that's why they had the larger signs. When Mattress Firm left, they split up the tenants and made them smaller. But when they came back with the master sign plan, they proposed a plan which was approved by this commission to allow Papa John's to have that the larger two signs on that corner tenant space. And so the rest of the master plan said it's based on the linear frontage. Well, the remaining tenant spaces were, I believe, broken out 19 feet for each one. So like if you recall Cricket, when it used to be there, had a 19 square foot sign, and that was the largest they could go based on their linear frontage. The applicant is coming tonight for a variance because they have both tenant space B and C, and they're using that same facade area that Mattress Firm used. And so they're asking for a variance to allow them to have a similar size sign that Mattress Firm had. And so the way staff wrote this variance motion, if the Plan Commission were to grant it, would be that the condition will approve this larger sign only if the tenant at this multi-tenant space occupy both B and C. If, say, Kelvin Schrader's were to leave and two tenants go in, they'll be back to the 19 feet of frontage. So the way I proposed or drafted the variance motion was to say, we'll only allow this large of a sign on this area if this tenant occupies both B and C. So it was a little convoluted, but I wanted to have the opportunity to explain what it is that they're asking. And the design and the number of signs that they're asking conform with code. You're allowed to have one sign per tenant space, and it's channel letter, not an illuminated box sign, which we don't allow in B4 district.
Thank you.
Chris, anything?
I agree with what Pete's proposing here.
Christina? Ron?
Oh, it looks nice.
No, I'm fine with it. It's definitely an improvement to that building. So, for good things out of that.
Well, we plan on doing quite a bit as well. Unfortunately, the last two owners of the buildings, I think, left it in neglect a bit. So we're planning on doing quite a bit more. We're real proud to be part of the community. We've been here, coming up on 29 years, and it's going to be a lot classier when we're done with it.
Yeah, you've been a long time business owner here. That's great. You are renting though, correct?
Well, we have a loan with the bank, so we actually do own the building.
Oh, you own the building? Oh, great.
So it's owner occupied, and that's why we're definitely really behind, everything there for ourselves and our tenants in the city.
Excellent. Yeah, you get your feet under you, spruce her up.
Yep.
Could use some paint. But
We're already
anyways.
working on that.
But anyways, if there's no other questions, motion, please.
Wait,
Oh, I'm
guys,
sorry.
did you close the public hearing? I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. All right.
I did. I
I
slipped it
got to
in there
mark it on
pretty
my
quick.
notes here.
We
Sorry.
didn't have anybody coming up.
That's fine. Sorry.
So,
I know, right?
all right.
Are we all set then?
I think so, Fred.
Okay, Seifert moves that the planning commission allow a wall sign of up to 60 square feet if the tenant occupies both spaces B and C.
Hannah seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Grillo, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 6B and 6.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Item 6B and 6C have been held at the request of the applicant. So we'll still need a motion on that, correct? Carrie? No? Okay.
You can direct that both items be held, and we do not have to have a date and time certain for that.
Okay. And then we will hold items B and C to a later date to be determined if the applicant so decides. That gets us to item 6D, a certified survey map submitted by Jimmy Rosen, dividing the property at 7869 South 13th. Carrie?
The proposal is to divide the property into 3 lots of conforming size. On the screen before you is the proposed CSM. You'll note that Lot 1 has the largest remaining area for the proposal, and 2 additional lots would be created along the south end. You'll also recall that there was a CSM that was approved in July of this year that divided that corner lot, which is also being called Lot 2, so that needs to be addressed somewhere on the CSM so that there isn't confusion. But that second lot on the corner has already been through the approval process at this time. However, there are CSMs, including that one that was just recently approved in July, that divided the property or recombined the property with some of the existing residential or former residential lots on 13th Street, those CSMs need to be submitted for recording either concurrently with this CSM, should it be approved, or before recording this CSM. You'll also note that on the CSM, there are wetlands shown, but only on page 2. There is a suggested condition of approval that states that wetlands should appear on all sheets of the CSM, not just sheet 2. No details for the proposed easement or access road have been provided, although they are shown on the CSM. Easements for public water and sewer are also missing on the CSM and must be incorporated. Otherwise, no public water or sewer can be constructed to serve the site. If the Plan Commission is satisfied with the proposed CSM and the recommended conditions of approval, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by John Thompson, Highgate LLC for the property at 7869 South 13th Street be approved subject to conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. We will go right to questions to the commission.
I actually have a question.
Christina, go ahead.
So the question is for you, Gary. How is the wetland is going to be avoided or not impacted with this?
The wetland is just delineated on the CSM, and it'll be on Lot 1. So whenever Lot 1 is developed, they will have to incorporate that into their overall development plans. But it is, as long as it's reflected on the CSM, the wetland has no other impact to this proposal.
Yeah, but it's like you just stated, it's not shown on all of them. It's just shown on.
Correct. So there is a condition of approval that they be shown on all pages.
Okay. Thank you.
Dawn, still looking? Chris?
None for me.
Fred?
Yeah, I got a little question. Is there only going to be one entrance onto the property off of 13th Street? That per proposal?
With this proposal, they are showing one entry off of 13th Street, and that's by that proposed easement just south of the little notch out for the one remaining residential property that you see reflected on the CSM.
Although, if I may, as Lot 1 develops and as the planning progresses for Lot 1, which will be likely some type of plan unit development, it is likely that the major access for the entire development will actually be further north at the north end of Lot 1, adjacent to that wetland that was just talked about.
So right now, we're just staying with the one entrance that we have
Correct.
on the CSM.
Good for now, Fred?
Yeah, that's it. I just was questioning the
Jocelyn?
entrance.
Yes, a quick question. I don't know if it's for Carrie or the applicant. Can you provide a little more information on why it's being divided into 3 lots versus our prior discussion?
Well, the Lot 2 that was previously divided, that was for a specific user. What the applicant is proposing now are 2 additional lots that are for potential users of those 2 lots. Lot 1, as part of a master development plan, would come back if it needed to be redivided.
Thank you.
Before I speak up, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on item 6D? I know some of you came here with interest in this. If you are, feel free to come up and... No? Okay. Again, they're taking the properties and they're dividing up the lots for potential users. So as Fred brought up, the entrance, as to my knowledge right now, would be off 13th to feed these lots. So, quite frankly, you're going to see Lot 1 come back here, I would imagine, with a master plan or be divided in the future too. So I think that's all I really have to say on that one. So if there's no further questions, motion.
Guzikowski makes a motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that a certified survey map submitted by John Thompson, Highgate LLC for the property at 7869 South 13th Street be approved with the following conditions. 1, that the CSM approved by the Common Council December 19th, 2017, and the CSM approved by the Common Council July 17, 2018 are submitted for recording prior to or concurrently with submission of with the CSM for recording. 2, that the CSM is revised to incorporate all wetland areas on all sheets. 3, that all easements, access utilities, etc. are depicted on the map prior to recording. And 4, that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling, minor coordinate geometry corrections as provided, and corrections required for the compliance with municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Fairwell, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. 6E, plan review, review site, building, landscape, and related plans for Camp Bow Wow. That is the addition we spoke at 8411 South Liberty. So, applicant want to come up, say anything, or you want to wait for questions? Looks like you came with a whole presentation, so.
Good evening. My name's Todd Abrams. I'm the engineer that worked on the project. My address is 2675 Pradham Avenue in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. I certainly brought boards with me to do a quick run through, and I'm also here to answer questions. I know whichever you prefer.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, perhaps I can provide a little bit of information
Go
so that
for
you
it,
have some
Carrie.
questions that might come up. The proposal is for a 5,124 square foot addition onto the west side of the building, and the CUP amendment was for the number of allowed dogs at the facility. That was approved by the Common Council on August 6th. On the screen before you is what the proposal entails, which is an addition to the west, and it also includes some exterior dog play areas that will be fenced in by an 8-foot tall vinyl fence. You'll notice that the addition has a setback just shy of the required 20 feet. However, this addition is in line with the existing building, which was constructed in 2006. Those original plans showed a setback right at the 20-foot line. So what we're seeing here is probably one of those same kinds of the measuring techniques and tools have evolved since 2006, making these more accurate and precise. Since we're talking about less than half an inch, we have no issues in terms of staff concerns with having that slight setback modification here. Also, it's impractical to have the building addition set back half an inch from the existing building, so we're just going to call it a wash, if the Plan Commission is okay with that. Parking exists on the site already for about 17 vehicles according to the existing plans that were approved in 2005 and 6. The proposal includes a reconfiguration and an expansion to 20 stalls. However, that does require a modification to that existing landscape island along Liberty. That puts the closest parking stall on the east within the setback requirement. Now, the CUP required that parking be set back at least 40 feet from the Liberty Lane right-of-way. That is prior to the change that we had in the code that reduced setbacks for the M1 district for parking to 30 feet. So we need to have at least that minimum 30-foot setback complied with here, and that's assuming that we would have another CUP amendment to request that 30-foot setback. Otherwise, it has to comply with the 40-foot as per the CUP. But that's a point of information, and that's something that I've already discussed with the applicant's consultant, and we're working through those issues, but it's a point of clarification for you. Code does not actually specify parking requirements for dog daycare and grooming facilities, and requirements for animal hospitals are not applicable to this particular application because they're not doing any kind of hospital procedures here. The closest applicable portion of the parking requirements in code would be for general retail and customer service uses, which requires one stall for every 150 gross square feet of customer sales and service area plus one per peak shift employee. Realistically, the public would only have access to about 527 square feet of this building because that's the lobby and reception area, and that may even be a little bit larger than what they have per their floor plan. So that would require about 4 parking stalls for customers. Now, per their company standards, they've stated that 1 employee is required for every 25 dogs. There's a maximum of 125 allowed at the facility at any given time, according to the conditional use permit. So that would be 5 required parking stalls for employees, but we don't have any information whether they have reception or other office staff that might be on site. Regardless, though, it does appear that even with the reconfiguration of the parking lot to meet setback requirements, they would exceed what would be required for parking. The landscape plan, it's already an existing building. There's already existing landscaping on the facility, property, by the building, by the parking lot. The proposal would include enhanced landscaping, particularly around the north and along the addition, the northern side of the addition, and the reconfigured parking area. Again, the exterior dog play areas will be enclosed by an 8-foot tall vinyl fence. That's actually pretty much replacing what's there. There is already an 8-foot tall, or there's a vinyl fence on the property. The landscape plans are missing the height of the plantings at installation and maturity. So those details, along with details for the proposed dumpster enclosure, will need to be submitted along with the revised plans. This is the floor plan that I was mentioning earlier. As you can see, basically the reception area, which includes a bathroom and an office space and the vestibule for the building, is in that dotted area, but that again is the only portion of the building that will be accessible to the public. These are renderings for the proposed addition. You'll notice that the building materials are intended to match the existing, so they would be using fiber cement panels, or siding rather, brick and shingled roofing materials to match what is already there. Now, fiber cement requires a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission per code. The addition is not within the visible perimeter, so those code requirements don't apply for decorative brick, masonry, those kinds of things. And since this is constructed with the same materials as the existing building, staff has included a recommendation for approval. The suggested motion is for the Plan Commission, if they are satisfied with this proposal, to approve the site and building plan submitted by Brett Ippolite. I don't think I said that right, I'm sorry. Camp Bow Wow for the property at 8411 South Liberty Lane, subject to conditions 1 through 5. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Would you guys like to see this, or you want to go right to questions? Would you like to see this presentation? Okay. You're going to sum it up for us?
Sure. I thought Carrie did an excellent job. She hit most of the key items. A couple of things I will add to the presentation. Carrie mentioned we are replacing the parking lot. I just kind of wanted to highlight that we are essentially removing and replacing almost all site features that exist on the site, pulling all of the existing asphalt out, pulling all the existing curbing, wheel stops out, repaving, restriping, putting in new sidewalks. Right now, there's not the best site lighting on site, so we've actually we're adding some site area lights to meet the ordinance and make sure the parking lot's well lit. Along with, Carrie mentioned, it is an existing, thank you. It is an existing building. We are providing new foundation landscaping, 11 new trees, keeping all of the existing honey locusts that exist on Liberty Lane, and then also enhancing the existing building's northerly elevation. All restoration now is called for sod, where we are doing some grading changes. I know we do have to make some some site engineering tweaks, based on some comments we've received. We're ready to take care of those right away and completely comply.
Questions from the commission? Chauncey?
I do have a question for the applicant. Can you provide a little more information on why the larger area for the addition? What is its purpose?
So the current addition is 3,000-ish square feet. Thank you. My name is Leah Beauchart. Living address or that address? Okay, 8411 South Liberty Lane. I am the current camp director at our location in Waukesha. So the current building is rather small for what we're looking to do. We're the premier provider of dog daycare and boarding in the area. Our main focus is to create happy, healthy pets because they'll make happy, healthy people. So the addition is going to add our boarding cabins, which is where dogs will stay overnight, provides them their own individual space for meal times. And then the play yards are where they get to go out and play all day, interact with the other dogs, so provide stimulation and exercise for the dogs. So again, boarding and daycare, so the addition will provide us the appropriate space to house the number of dogs that we think Oak Creek and the surrounding areas need around here. So,
Thank you.
Fred, anything?
I'm just curious about where is that fenced-in area that you talked about?
so it is behind the buildings, again, off behind the street, so you won't be able to see it directly from the street. It's 8-foot vinyl fence. 8-foot vinyl fencing. There will be 5 individual play yards outside that lead directly to inside. So the dogs will get to choose whether they're inside or outside, which is great for them. So the outside just provides places for them to go to the bathroom and play.
Thank you.
Chris, anything?
Looks good. I look forward to the rest of the addition being complete.
Yes, actually, I have a couple of questions/comments to the engineer. So I noticed here that you're adding quite a bit of in previous areas, and I haven't seen any drainage here, or I just saw some changes in the elevations. So I just want to make sure that you're not directing your drainage on your adjacent properties or something like that.
There's a small increase. There is a small increase in impervious area. So you can see the building addition is taking up a portion of the existing paved area that is out there today. But we are adding some impervious area. It's my understanding, and this is something one of the comments I do have with the engineering department is there is an existing detention pond to the south.
Correct.
So right now we are directing water to the north because at the time of the design we did not know that this was an existing detention pond. In fact, we thought this all was a detention pond. So we feel with some slight modifications we can revise that grading and make sure that area is draining to the southerly detention pond as originally proposed.
Okay. And one more comment, when I look at the outside display with the same materials that Carrie was just pointing to, the one she's showing here, and it's just a comment, and maybe you can explain to me. I see more not enough windows, not enough light going inside the structure. I don't know if this is something that is preferred or why there is not enough lighting, like natural light. Just 4 or 5 windows with that large structure.
There are doors that lead from inside to outside, and again, those doors are open. There are weather flaps, tinted weather flaps, so it keeps inside in and outside out, temperature-wise, so inside is still temperature controlled, but those doors provide quite a bit of natural sunlight still into the building, at least in our existing location. That is where a lot of our light comes from, is those doors that lead to outside. So I guess it's something we haven't necessarily talked in specifics about.
But you see exactly the exhibit that he's looking at, the middle?
Yes.
Yes.
Up there?
No, the middle typical
the middle
section
one.
that he has here. Yeah, you can see, I see the doors that you're talking about, but see, comparing to the solids, you don't have, in those small square windows, it's not going to get you enough sunlight. That's just a comment here, not a request, something to look into. That's all that I have.
On anything? No. Just a couple questions. One out of curiosity. Back play area, you pick up the dog waste and what have you. Obviously, daily, you guys got to cut back there. It is going to be all grass, not gravel or
So it's
anything.
Canine Turf is what they call it outside. So it's a company from Illinois that creates turf. I think we're doing turf pods. So it'll be concrete as the base. The pods sit on like a spiked platform, and then the turf is on top of there. So it still is a really nice drainage system. There'll be drainage within the concrete. So we hose that down regularly. We pick up the waste almost immediately as soon as it is created, put it into the trash cans we have in each play yard, and then those trashes get emptied minimum of twice a day, depending on how full they are, taken out to the dumpster. So we don't put up with smell.
Okay. And Carrie addressed the dumpster situation. That's still pending, correct?
It's the enclosure, but it's not a concern at this point. It's just a matter we need to get the plans for it.
Okay. And then my last question, Mike, this is kind of for you. I imagine is going to be a wood frame structure addition. Is this going to be fully sprinkled? How do we protect the lives of these pets going forward? You guys got a lot of evacuation to do here if something happens.
Mike Kresick, Fire Department. Happy Fire Prevention Week, everyone. So this is an addition to an existing structure. The existing structure is not sprinklered. The addition to the structure, as we review it, we'll get into the particulars if this type of occupancy requires a sprinkler per code or not. There'll be a code requirement if a sprinkler is required. That said, if it does not meet the square footage or occupancy types for the inclusion of sprinkler systems, we always highly recommend the inclusion of sprinkler systems into any type of structure. Stepping away from the sprinkler systems, it will be the potential for boarding overnight in addition to a high volume of pets. The NFPA does issue a code guidance for boarding veterinary type facilities. And there are certain requirements. Now, on a smaller scale, it could be as simple as what is their emergency evacuation plan? Where do the dogs go? They're going to want to get out just like a human will. What is their plan for evacuating the pets from that facility in the case of a fire? We'll work with the owner and occupant to develop that plan, provide any input we need to, and make sure that's part of their occupancy moving forward.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure exactly how it would work because there's a fair number of pets that will be there, so. And I'm sure they're going to have a thing that says "Save my pet" on the door, the sticker, and you won't know which one's which.
Sure they will.
Okay, that is really it for me. Nothing else. Motion.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the Plan Commission approves the site plan submitted by Brett Hippolyte Campbell for the property at 8411 South Liberty Lane with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. Number 2, that all parking areas meet minimum required setbacks on Liberty Lane right away. Number 3, landscape plans are revised to incorporate details for height of plants at all installation and maturity. Number 4, that the plans are revised to include details and elevations for the proposed dumpster enclosure. And number 5, that all revised plans, site plans, building, landscaping, etc., are submitted in digital format as reviewed for review by the approval by the Department of Community Development prior to submission of building permit.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Hello, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 6F is zoning text amendment. My tongue's not working here. Review required parking setbacks. For that, we have Pete, our zoning guy.
Ed. As you stated, this is a text amendment request from Zunda America to amend the required parking lot setbacks to the right-of-ways for any development in the LM1 district. Currently, the code states that setbacks are established for the M1 manufacturing district shall apply. And so if that is the case, that's a 30-foot setback. It just so happens in this particular case, Zune is looking for a reduction in the overall parking lot setback from the right-of-ways. And so in this particular case, that it would directly impact would be the Zune property to the south of us over on Market Street and 6th Street. And so we'll just kind of step back a moment. When we created the LM1 district, we talked about, we focused on uses a lot. What lesser, lighter manufacturing uses would be a good fit for this category. When it came to parking lot setbacks, the thought was, well, we'll just mirror what was in the M1 district since they're both a type of manufacturing, and we didn't go much further into that. Well, now that we have people using the LM1 district, now the question is like, well, parking, we need a little more flexibility. It's the 30-foot setback. We are not as heavy users as manufacturing, and so staff sat back, thought about it, and decided that, maybe the 10-foot would be an acceptable setback to the right-of-ways and would also provide future development in LM1 district uses a little bit more flexibility when it comes to orientating their parking lots and how they could better situate their development in the zoning district. With that said, staff is proposing to amend the text from what I read earlier, which is also in your report, to say there shall be a minimum setback of 10 feet from the right-of-way from all streets. Now, if the commission is okay with that, staff has drafted a motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that Section 17.03170I1 of the Municipal Code be amended as presented, requiring a 10-foot parking lot setback from the public right-of-way after a public hearing.
Thank you, Pete. Questions? Anything with it? Yep, go ahead, Chauncey.
I just want to have a better understanding of why such a large difference from 30 to 10.
Well, in this particular case, with the LM1 district being right up against Drexel Town Square, that would mirror that particular setback.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, this is a citywide change, correct? This
Correct.
just does not apply to Drexel Town Square. So I do agree, it makes perfect sense here. I have faith they vetted it out in some of our other potential LM1 districts that exist, or I ain't going to say potentially could because nobody can foresee everything. But if they're comfortable with it, I have faith in staff's recommendation. Anyone else? Okay. Motion.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission recommends to the Common Council that Section 17.03170I1 of the Municipal Code be amended as presented, requiring a 10-foot parking lot setback from the public right-of-way after a public hearing.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Anna, aye.
Willow, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. Item 6G. Review a request by the City of Oak Creek to rezone the properties at 2600 Southwest South Branch Boulevard and 8910 South 27th from M1 Manufacturing and OO Mixed Use Office Overlay to M1 Manufacturing. Carrie.
So you'll recall at the September 25th Plan Commission meeting that a request was made by properties to the south of these two parcels for M&M Truck Center to basically do the exact same thing, which is to remove the properties from the overlay district. It was in that staff report that staff requested the Plan Commission to consider exactly what we're bringing before you right now, which is the two properties to the north, removing it from the overlay district. You'll recall again that the conversation was regarding the existing uses of these properties. And the 27th Street corridor, which had a specific purpose, unfortunately that vision for the corridor hasn't led to fruition in this area. So both of these parcels that we're proposing to also remove from the district are part of South Branch Industrial. So that's part of that PUD. They both have a base zoning of M1 manufacturing. They were developed in the mid-1990s in conformance with the M1 manufacturing district allowed uses, and that was prior to the establishment of the overlay district. And they've been consistently utilized for manufacturing and industrial uses. So staff is supportive of removing these two properties from the overlay district and having that overlay district then begin south of those properties previously reviewed for M&M Truck Center. According to the comprehensive plan, properties in the area have been identified for planned industrial uses, so this would be in conformance with the comprehensive plan as currently as it currently exists. And the existing parcels in the immediate area are zoned for manufacturing uses. These are all parts of the equation that staff were considering and led to this proposal before you. If the Plan Commission is in agreement with staff's proposal, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the properties at 2600 West South Branch Boulevard and 9810 South 27th Street be rezoned from M1 PUD Manufacturing and OO Mixed Use Office Overlay District to M1 PUD Manufacturing after a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Open it up. Questions? Christina?
That's for you, actually, Carrie. So just to make sure I totally understand, so you just want to remove the overlay district and just to be pure manufacturing?
Manufacturing in the PUD, correct.
Okay, how is this impacting the remaining offices surrounding this area?
It doesn't. This area is actually kind of the limits of the South Branch Industrial Park. So south of these parcels, south of the M&M Truck Center parcels, that is still available for office. And in fact, actually, I think there are office uses established that are south of that, including part of Liberty Corporate Preserve. So it doesn't affect those properties. It only affects these four parcels right here.
And also, this is kind of the face of the entrance of Oak Creek, if you just take the 27th Street. How are we ensuring that being manufacturing or being used as such is not going to really destroy 27th Street corridor, which was spent quite a bit of money to remodel it?
Well, again, these are properties that are part of and have been part of South Branch Industrial Park. So they've always been manufacturing. This is just allowing them to maintain that manufacturing use. They're also in that PUD. That PUD dates from the mid-60s, I believe. So it's not actually changing anything here.
Oh,
if they
okay.
wanted to actually redevelop it with office use, we would be in support of that potentially. But it also means that their existing uses can be maintained and remain part of the PUD. We're not changing the PUD. They're in the PUD. It's just kind of recognizing that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Carrie, I have just a quick, Carrie, have you talked to these owners of the property about this at all?
They were notified.
They have been notified?
Yep, we didn't hear anything from them.
Okay.
At least I haven't. I don't know if possibly they contacted somebody else, but they were part of the notification, and like I said, I've not heard from them.
Chris, anything?
Well, I just, when we removed, when we went and had the discussion about removing this, my only concern is that we don't, it doesn't become looking like a warehousing district there, and we have to do something to monitor. How do we manage this? And I don't know if it's through, I don't know if we can do it through conditions and restrictions, or how do we get it across to them that we need to make sure that we maintain the properties and they're looking good, and because it is again the entrance of the city basically.
Sure. I mean, there are code requirements for maintaining the properties. Part of the PUD has conditions and restrictions already part of it. Okay. The unfortunate part of the PUD is that it is so old. The 1965 PUD, I think it's 65, it might be 68. Obviously, those uses and rules have changed since then. So the nomenclature, the wording in the PUD is a little bit antiquated. Not only that, but some of those restrictions don't really apply with our current code. However, we still have the ability if there is a redevelopment or potential expansion of these property uses to require a conditional use per the M1. Okay?
All you need, yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we don't remove the conditional use aspect of the M1 restrictions.
Okay. Thank you.
Brett, do you have something? Chauncey?
One more
Christina?
question. I just want to make sure I fully understand. So, again, like it was said earlier, we want to make sure. Okay, let me rephrase that. So, exactly are we doing if it's still maintain the same using? What are we doing here then?
We're removing the overlay district, which would place further restrictions on the property. So if they wanted to expand, they wouldn't be able to. If they wanted to have a conditional use that would be allowed by the M1 district, they would be prohibited by the overlay district because that's the wording in the overlay district. It's part of the reason why M&M Truck Center had to put their conditional use permit request on hold pending the rezone request.
So why can't we remove them from the overlay district but add conditional use then?
Because these are existing and they're part of the PUD, they're not requesting a conditional use at this time. Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing from the existing use and what was approved already. We're just taking them out of the overlay district.
Maybe I'm wrong, but if they are not changing the use, why are we removing them if nothing has changed?
Well, we're removing the overlay. So what happened is they were always M1, okay, from the 60s on. And when we did the 27th Street plan, we created this overlay district. And we laid it on top of there. Think of paper on top of paper. We're removing that one piece of paper, so we're not hamstringing existing businesses.
Correct. So when the other truck company came and they wanted to get removed from the overlay district, that was because they were expanding and they were changing. They were doing some changes due to that. But here, what I was trying to understand, if they're not doing any changes, what's the reason for bringing it forward?
It was part of the request that staff had in the report for M&M Truck Center to consider whether or not we wanted to take just those parcels that were part of the conditional use and rezone request out, or if we wanted to expand it to these properties to the north. And what staff heard from the Plan Commission was that it made sense to consider these parcels in addition to those two parcels that were being requested to remove them from the overlay district so that we have a comprehensive treatment of these properties and of the overlay district.
Oh.
He's
so
absolutely right. It originated here. Our
what I
request was
missed-
to take those parcels to the north.
You're right. I missed that we are the applicant.
Yes.
I thought it was the applicant bringing it forward. So, okay. Sorry about that. Now I get
Oh,
it.
that's okay. We do have one citizen wishing to speak. Arden, you want to come on up?
Arden Degner, 8540 South Pennsylvania Avenue. I was glad to be able to read my scrawling there. Mayor, it was bad.
It's pretty good. I've seen
But
worse.
I am wondering how we're going to keep this. Apparently, this is going to, it's mentioned here, a manufacturing, but it's also mentioned that mixed, the mini storage partnership is because is this to be a storage area then?
No, the existing use is a self-storage facility, and that was approved in the mid-90s. It's already there.
It's already what?
It's already in existence. It's been in existence since the mid-90s.
Oh. So, there are buildings on this property?
On both, correct?
It's fully developed.
Yep.
Oh, it's already developed.
That's correct.
Oh, that makes a different story because I thought something was going to be moving in there from across this 27th Street when I-94 blocks that access to Franklin, and they'll be glad to have access to Oak Creek. That's what I was afraid of. But apparently, if there's some other buildings there, that'd be a plus. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else on this one? Okay. If not, motion, please.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the properties at 2600 West South Branch Boulevard and 9810 South 27th Street be rezoned from M1 PUD manufacturing and office overlay, mixed use office overlay district to M1 PUD manufacturing after a public hearing.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Great. Before we adjourn, as always, I want to thank everybody, Assistant Chief Kresick for coming in, adding your expertise there on Camp Bow Wow. Tim always does a good job, and our staff, you guys did a great job, always prepared. We're coming down the stretch of the farmers market, so Dawn, you want to give it a plug this week?
Yes, second last week for the farmers market, and then last week, October 20th, is the fall festival.
Don't want to miss that one. The vendors will be there all day. Everything's in season. Plenty to buy. Get out there. With that, adjournment.
Grillo moves to adjourn at 6:53.
Hannah seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.